Dan, one of the elephants in the room as far as energy in the United States is coal. And roughly 50% of our electric power comes from coal, not so much from California, but for the rest of the country. And I wondered what your perspectives are as you go down through the decades as where coal fits into the energy picture, or whether shale gas might displace coal in a significant way.
Yeah. Well, I think that it partly goes back to the first question from Peter Schwartz about energy policy, because of course the coal-producing states have a very different attitude towards on energy policy than a state like California. I think gas is going to replace coal. We'll see coal's now was 50, as you say, going down to 45. I think will decline. Talked to a guy the other day who thought he'd built the last new coal plant in the United States, a very efficient one. But it's going to be very difficult to build new coal plants. And so, on the other hand, we're a big producer of coal, and so I think we're going to have an ever-increasing number of rail cars going from coal-producing states to ports on the West Coast and shipping coal to Asia. So I think that's going to be a growing export business for us.
And is gas replacing coal because it's just cheaper, or cheaper and cleaner, or is it market economics or policy?
Well, I think it's first, I think for utilities, and anybody for utility knows a quandary that utilities face about what do you build, what new generation do you commit to, and but I think that it's recognized it's pretty hard to commit to a new coal-powered plant, and it's partly policy and environmental opposition. But on the other hand, that gas at these prices at least is competitive in the broad range with coal. And so I think natural gas, along with wind, but natural gas becomes a default fuel for electric, when we need new electric generation. And because we may be at peak demand in terms of oil, but we're probably not in peak demand in terms of electricity. Our own estimates is that electricity demand will increase by about 18%, 20% over the next 10 years. And the reason is going back to Ronald Reagan and the continuing electrification of society, and the fact that in your homes you have all these gadgets that you didn't have 10 or 20 years ago, starting with microwaves up to your iPhone now. And we have a more and more need to generate gadget watts to feed your gadgets. And so that adds to the question of what kind of mix do we have in electric power. But I think, obviously, so I think gas is the default fuel there along with wind.